Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
DJ PK, and it's time to welcome Jason Cole back to the program. Longtime NFL writer and analyst. Jason, good morning.
Good morning. What's going on?
Well, the NFL's on the rise. We've had a preseason game. The countdown is on. There's people probably getting ready for fantasy football drafts here in a few weeks. We thought it was time to talk a little NFL. The offseason has been dominated by the Rams. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl, but the Rams won the offseason. Do you have the Rams as the clear favorite going into this year? Is it Seattle? Is it somebody else?
It's a good question. And I would say that the Rams are the most desperate team because they know this is Stafford's last year, probably McVay's last year. So they're all in on this one. And I think that they get a sense with Donald that, they got one more shot with Donald. So I would give them that nod based on desperation. And I would also go that, they have the best quarterback on that side. Now, I know that, Seattle won the title, but I just still don't believe in Sam Darnold. And the defense was great, but I just get the feeling that they're repeating what they did with Russell Wilson, which most fans would take what they did with Russell Wilson. That'd be great. But I don't see them winning a second title with this iteration. You got to have a better quarterback than that.
Speaking of quarterbacks, where do you stand on rookies playing the first year? Obviously with the Raiders, Mendoza, and they got Cousins over there. So some have had success, some haven't. What do you think?
I think it sort of depends on do you actually have a plan on when you're going to get him on the field? So with Mendoza, I sort of understand not starting him right away. But when do you plan to get him on the field? Because it should be sooner than later with a guy who's this mature, this knowledgeable, this much experience, having played essentially 5 years of college football, being a slightly older guy. So it slightly surprises me. But both sides have worked. I mean, like Mahomes sat for a year, right?
Yeah.
Didn't play the first year. He's great. Carson Palmer had a great career. He didn't play his first year. So there's something to it. There's also, here's a really important part. Can you actually protect your guy? And again, there are some guys out there, and I know Pete Priskin used to argue about this all the time. He'd say, guys are experienced in college. They know what they're doing. Just get them out there and play. And he really believes in that. Well, okay, what happened with David Carr?
Yeah.
You got him out there. You couldn't protect him. He became a shell of himself, and that's the number one overall pick that, had a very disappointing career. So I'm iffy on it. I think I leave it to the judgment of football people. But I also always ask, what is the plan here to get him on the field? And it should be sooner than later in this era, but maybe not right away.
In the NFL, we see teams go from worst to first and put together tremendous turnarounds. The Bears went from fourth in the NFC North to first. They're plus 5 or 6 wins last year. That was great. Now, there are a couple teams that went from third place to first. Jacksonville was like plus 9 wins. New England improved 10 wins over the prior year. Who do you think will do it this year? Who will be that team? And if I said it's going to be the Giants, do you think I'm crazy?
No, the Giants can't, because I think the division is weak, right? So if you don't believe in the division, if you don't think Philly is going to be that good this year, and I do have some real serious doubts about Philly. The makeup of that team is questionable. If you don't believe in the Cowboys, which I don't, I mean, I just think they're frauds. If you don't really truly believe in Washington, but I would say you're picking a couple of good candidates, or we have sort of arrived at it, between the Giants and Washington that could really step up. Now, Washington wasn't that bad last year. The Giants were, so there's more room for improvement there. The Dolphins aren't going anywhere. Minnesota, I'm kind of curious about, can they do sort of do a little bit of a rebound? They're getting Kyler Murray. Again, I don't believe in Kyler Murray long term. I don't think that's a solution. But you kind of wonder, is that a team that can rebound a little bit? The Raiders would be fun to pick, but they're not going anywhere in that division. I mean, it's just that division is too top heavy. And obviously, like a team, you would say a team like Arizona, they're not going anywhere, despite the fact that they got a good rookie running back who can sort of stabilize that team. But that division is just too top heavy. So I think you settled in on the Giants is a pretty good target.
Now, you mentioned that Cardinals running back, and what was he taken, third? And I think the year before, Genti out of Boise State was a high pick. It seemed like for a while there that the NFL teams had shied away from running backs that high, and now we've got two pretty high back-to-back, obviously. Is that something that you see going forward, or that we can find one later?
I think that most of the time you're still going to try and find one later, because the value there's not a lot of market value in taking a running back in the first round unless you know you're going to absolutely play him right away and you have no answer there, right? Or if you happen to think that he's truly special. And I think the case of Genti, I think he's going to be special, despite the fact that he struggled a little bit his rookie year. I think Love, good player. I'm not sure he's a great player. I think that this was a really weak draft, and that's why that forced the running back up. But I will say, like in an overall sense, football goes through these iterations. Everybody plays wide open for a while, so what do defenses have to do? Defenses have to get quick and small and be able to cover because everybody goes wide open. Well, as soon as the defenses are primarily quick and small and fast to cover wide open football, it's like, okay, now let's go back to playing power football, right? And let's play that iteration of football. And now if you're going to play power football, you better get an explosive running back who can take advantage of that. So this is sort of the ebbs and flows of how football works. And I don't think that it ever really lasts anymore because people change their style of play so quickly because they're capable of changing their style of play so quickly. And the one thing I'll also add on top of this, and I really worry about this for football generally, in the case of the Texas linemen going back to college after trying to make it in the NFL, like there's going to be a lot of old guys playing offensive line in the college level until they figure out a way to change these rules, right? Well, if there's a bunch of old guys playing college football who can't make it in the NFL, who are the young guys who are going to develop in college who can play in the NFL, right? So the NFL pretty soon is going to have some serious offensive line issues, not having good enough players there. And I mean, we're talking by soon, I mean within the next 3 to 4 years, where you just don't have guys who can hold up. And it's going to change the way that you play football in very significant ways. So the NFL better be looking at how do they develop offensive linemen, how do they get some young guys out there and give them actual experience and teach them what they're doing. Until college football changes what their makeup is. And I'm not sure that college football has a real hope on how to change that unless the politicians get involved, and that's a mess.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun. An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast. An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Kansas City Chiefs were the story for years. They either won the title or you had to beat them to win the title. They went 6-11 last year. Now, part of that is obviously Mahomes with the knee injury, and they lost their last 6 games. But nonetheless, they were 6-5 after 11 games. They weren't exactly dominating. How far back do they come? I can see them being in the mix for the playoffs. I can't see them being in the mix for the Super Bowl. It feels like they've missed on too many draft picks, and Mahomes is too expensive. Do you buy any or all of that?
Oh, I don't believe it. Look, I don't believe the expense part. That's a really convenient argument for people. But even if the cap is $300 million, even if you're paying your quarterback $55 or $60 million, that leaves $240 million for the rest of your roster, right? And rookie salaries are pretty stagnant. So your rookies are only making about, total about $25-30 million. Your minimum salary guys are stagnant too. So there's a ton of cash left to pay guys. What the Chiefs have missed on is they haven't gotten any wide receivers. Xavier Worthy, has not panned out. He's not become what they want him to do. They want him to become another version of Tyreek Hill, and he's just not a very good football player. He doesn't know how to get open. He doesn't know how to go get the ball. He's not a very tough kid. Got Rashee Rice, who doesn't put a priority on playing football, and he's a good, solid football player. I think they overvalue him because they're so desperate. He's going to be a really good number 3, but he's not a great player, and he's not a great player who puts his total emphasis and total love into football. He's distracted by too many other stupid things. So who's the wide receiver on that team that you trust right now? I mean, Travis Kelce, tight end, still a nice player, but, he's showing his age. So they need more help from Mahomes. And I know they, going out and getting Kenneth Walker gives them a little bit more balance to their offense and gives them a guy who's a little more explosive than Pacheco. But I think he's only a little bit more explosive than Pacheco, not a lot. And so I just don't like where they're going offensively. I think that, if they get their injuries under control and everything else, they're back to a 9-10, maybe an 11-win team. And in the playoffs, the way you talk about it, but they don't have guys who scare the defense, other than Mahomes. And Mahomes dummied it 2 years ago, dummied it up really well until they got to the Super Bowl and they got overwhelmed by the Eagles. So I'm just really wondering, as the Hunt family sort of said, okay, we won our titles, we had a nice run, we're now just going to cash out and take the money and just have Mahomes and Reed, and they'll make it work somehow, and we'll be okay.
Preseason football is upon us. We've had one game, and now it really ramps up here coming up in a few days. What's your assessment on if young guys, particularly rookies, shine? How much stock do you put into that?
Look, these are times when only the rookies play. When only rookies play, you see really vanilla football. You don't see exotic coverages. You don't see a lot of change. I don't put a lot of stock, not just in preseason, but I don't put a lot of stock in the first 2 or 3 regular season games. Not that they don't count. Don't get me wrong. But your veterans aren't playing until then. So they're not ready to hit. They're not ready to tackle. So you see a lot of really bad football in the first 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't think teams round into shape until you get to week 4, 5, 6. And then you have a real idea of what teams are like. So, it's nice to see football, and obviously it has some meaning for the young guys who are playing. And coaches are measuring it, and they want to see what the mistakes are. They want to see who knows how to handle it. Carson Beck is doing a nice job in that first game, and you'd like to think maybe the Cardinals have something to work with, and that was nice. But we're talking the level of football they're playing right now for the next few weeks is not even close to what it's going to be by week 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, I asked that because my sister has season tickets for the Cardinals, and she wants to know how good Carson Beck's going to be.
Well, you saw about from Carson Beck in college. is a lot more indicative of what he really is, which is, a nice, solid college quarterback who made some critical mistakes in key games. And until he does that in regular season games, until you see him change that, I don't believe the Hall of Fame game is any real strong indicator of what he is in his career. Like, I just don't believe that he's like a full-time starter. But hey, prove me wrong, man. Like, that's the beauty of the game. Like, go become a star. Like, this is awesome. But football has just preseason football is not what it used to be, and it's going to continue to change as we get towards 18 games, and coaches become even more protective of their players and don't want to play them very much in preseason or even in training camp because they got so many games to worry about.
Look at the Broncos as 20-1 favorites to win the Super Bowl. That's a team that was in the AFC title game but didn't have their quarterback as Bo Nix was hurt. Shouldn't they have better odds there? How do you think they stack up at the top of the AFC?
You would say that, except it's a year where, Baltimore dipped and wasn't very good either. Cincinnati didn't get their defense together, dipped. Like, did they take advantage? Kansas City, we just talked about what happened with Kansas City. Was Denver really good, or did they take advantage of a year? And you can say this about New England, too. Did they take advantage of the year when everybody was down? And I think that's the theory on Denver. What I tend to believe is they're a very well-coached team with high demands from a great leader who knows how to max out the most from his talent, who did cover up some things with their defense early on. The defense got a little weaker as time went on, but it's still pretty good. And the wild card is Bo Nix. The wild card is where is the ceiling, where is the floor for Bo Nix? And he's one of those guys where it's like, you don't know, like, can Sean Payton coax him into being a star and to becoming more consistent and becoming a guy who can really attack? Because you don't see that all the time from Bo Nix, but you do see some highlight reel stuff at the end of games, right? Can he become more consistent? Or is it the Bo Nix where in college, between his two stops in college, there were times where he was cratering, right? And looked like he might fall through the floor. He didn't, and he got through it, but he's one of those guys who's like super erratic. Right? And I think I'm belaboring my point here. And I just don't trust him yet. But I'm still curious about him. I'm still excited to see what he's going to be. And if it's the upshot, then Denver's a serious contender. If it's the downshot, then or he just continues to kind of muddle along, then they'll muddle along. So this is going to be carried largely on the future of Bo Nix.
Jason, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for coming on and talking so much NFL football with us. We'll talk to you again.
All right, guys. Be good. All right. Take care.
There's Jason Cole, longtime NFL writer and analyst. The one-score games, PK. Broncos were 9-2. If they come back to earth on that, they won't be in the great position they were last year. They're hosting all their playoff games.
I hope for your Chargers, that's the case.
Yeah. DJ and PK coming up, top of the hour, Steve Bartle. Ute Insider for KSL Sports. He's here in about 15 minutes. Stay with us.
Best thing that's ever happened to you financially. Go.
Easy. Sold my car on Carvana. Amazing offer.
Really? I hit 200 on a scratcher.
Did the scratcher come to your house and hand you a check?
No.
How many scratchers did you hit to get that? I hit a button on Carvana.com once.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like the lottery, except you always win.
Not like the lottery at all, actually.
Exactly. Inexplicably good. Offers worth bragging about. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.